Welcome to this episode of Bible Bites. We're going to be taking a look at three verses this time. Philippians 3, the first three verses, 1 through 3. And Paul writes, "Finally, my brothers, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you is no trouble to me and is safe for you. Look out for the dogs. Look out for the evildoers. Look out for those who mutilate the flesh. For we are the circumcision, who worship by the Spirit of God and glory in Christ Jesus and put no confidence in the flesh." What's going on here? A really powerful, packed kind of three verses. We can talk about a number of things. Paul's turning to these last statements he wants to make. Really, it's half the letter, but addressing issues that are pertinent to the Philippians and really important to the gospel. And he's calling them to rejoice because these are things that would rob them of their joy if they didn't understand. He says it's safe for them if he writes the same thing as kind of a reminder to them of what the gospel really means. And I want you to see how he lays it out here. There were false teachers that had been infiltrating really throughout the region, had been trying to teach. These are the Judaizers. You've probably heard of them. They're trying to teach a version of Christianity that requires that really you become part of the Jews first. You have to be under the law. You have to be under circumcision and under the Mosaic law. Then you can follow Christ. Well, there's a problem with that. And look at how Paul thinks of those who teach such things. He says, look out, beware, right? Look out for the dogs, the evildoers, and literally the mutilation, or here, those who mutilate the flesh. He's really taking, as one author said something like, he's taking what is the pride of the Jews and he's inverting it. They consider themselves the Jews versus the Gentile dogs. Paul's calling them the dogs. They think of themselves as the righteous ones. Paul's calling them the evildoers. They consider themselves the circumcision, and Paul is calling their version of circumcision mutilation, saying all you're doing is really destroying the flesh. You're cutting it off. You're cutting around this thing instead of, or cutting it off instead of cutting around it, which is what circumcision really is. You're mutilating rather than doing what is real circumcision, which Paul is going to address. It has to do with the heart. So he says, look, and he's writing to the Philippians too, including Gentiles, he says, we're the circumcision. This is language really of the covenant. We're the ones in the new covenant. This is Paul laying out how we're saved, how we come into relationship with God. And how is that? He says, by the Spirit of God, worship by the Spirit, right? Jesus said we worship in spirit and truth. He's referring to new birth, right? And glory in Christ, right? So our boast is not in our works, but in Christ, and literally have no confidence in the flesh. He's saying our hope is in the gospel, which is Christ himself, his work, right? What he did, not our flesh, but grace, not law, but faith, right? Spirit. This is how Paul sees salvation. Grace, spirit, faith, right? Rather than law and flesh and what we can do. It's always pointing to what Jesus did, his work. That's where our boast is. So Paul's looking at what these Judaizers are teaching, and he's saying they're getting the gospel completely wrong. They're putting their hope in their own work, their own ability to keep the law and those things. And Paul's saying that is not where our confidence is. It's in Christ and what he accomplished. And we better never turn our eyes from that reality. I hope that's an encouragement to you to think about what Christ really did accomplish and that it's all about his work. And that's where our confidence and assurance comes from. And he's going to lay it out some more in the next few sections as well. So until next time.